It's time to count down the top 10 best-selling light novels in Japan, and there's actually a brand new title on the list this week. I'm kind of excited about that. Hello everybody, and welcome to another countdown of the top 10 best-selling light novels in Japan, this covering the week of September the 3rd to the 9th of 2018. I, of course, am Justus R. Stone, and on this channel I cover all things light novels, reviews, news, and countdowns like this, so if you love light novels or you're just kind of getting interested in them, you should consider subscribing. So like I said when I introduced this, we've got a couple of new titles on the list this week, and in fact one of them is a brand new release. So without further ado, let's just get into it. At number 10, with 3,500 copies sold, volume number 4 of Kaifuku Jutsushi Yarinaoshi Sokushi Mahou to Skill Copy no Chouetsu Heal, aka the redo of a healing magician, transcendental healing of instant death magic and skill copying. This one was on the list last week. Like I said last week, it was number 1 in Bookwalker's Next Big Light Novel poll of 2018, and it is about a magician who specializes in healing magic, who kind of comes to the conclusion that aside from being just like support magic, it could actually be the most powerful magic, and he uses that knowledge to basically heal the world, which allows him to travel back in time 4 years, and he starts kind of redoing things. Now, I've heard a couple things, and a number of you actually said yes, you've heard correct. This is a pretty dark revenge tale, and I mean, it's dark on both sides. Basically, I guess this individual, our main character, in leading up to this point, he was mistreated, he was himself raped, he was made a drug addict, he had everything taken from him, and so he kind of comes back 4 years later and decides to inflict a little bit of that bitter medicine on the people who inflicted it on him. Now, I think one of you did say at first it isn't like he just goes pure on revenge. He just kind of waits to see, like, will things change, or, you know, are these people just irredeemable and this is who they are? And well, clearly that's who they are, because this one just turns into that dark, dank kind of revenge story. Pretty hardcore stuff by the sounds of it, which kind of makes me wonder if we'll ever see this in English, or, you know, turned into an anime. I mean, then again, you know what, when I read the first volume of Goblin Slayer, I wasn't really sure whether we'd ever see that made into an anime, and haha, it's coming out in like a couple of weeks, so who knows, we'll see how this one turns out. At number 9, with 3,564 copies sold. Now this is the brand new release that's on the list, and that is Nanatsu no Maken ga Shihai suru. Now this is notable because this is actually by the same author of Alderamin on the Sky, and this is, of course, that series just ended, what, a month or two ago? Not too long ago, actually. I know it was just on the list not too long ago, the most recent volume of that, which ended the series. So this is now a new series by that author, and not a lot on it, obviously, because, well, that's the very first one, but Google Translate gives me a rough idea, and basically what this one now is it is a sort of magic high school battle type story. It seems to do with sort of two swords and their destinies of the people holding those swords, and yeah, it seems like kind of a bit of a departure from the whole let's tell about a general's rise and big warfare and everything else. So it seems almost like kind of pulling back and playing it almost a little safer in some ways, which is kind of odd, but in any case, that is what's coming out, and we'll see how people like it if it appears again on the list. Hopefully, if there's a couple more volumes, there'll be a little bit more information that I can provide you on this one. At number 8, with 3,941 copies sold, volume number 19 of Oushuu Youitan. Now, there's no English license for this. Even though there's been 19 volumes, you cannot find any information on this series in English. And it's really funny because this volume 18 of this series was on the list months ago, and even then in the comments nobody really had anything to say about it. So I really have nothing on this. I kind of looked at the Google Translate again. It looks like this is sort of a series that focuses on characters that are, believe it or not, in college in the UK, and I believe in Paris as well. And it seems to revolve around these characters becoming involved in supernatural events. It kind of, like, again, the Google Translate gets really weird, especially when you're talking paranormal stuff, but it kind of makes it sound like the one guy can sort of see spirits, and the other guy kind of has can sort of foresee things. And if you look at the covers, they look very much like a sort of shoujo, maybe even like a boys' love book. I don't know. I really know nothing about this series, and like I said, there is no information out there in English, even though it's got 19 volumes and apparently does well enough to hit the top 10 several times of volumes. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with this one. I would love to know more about it that I can add to my notes for, you know, when volume 20 most likely ends up on the list again. At number 7, with 4,009 copies sold, volume number 11 of Seirei Gensouki. This one, of course, on the list last week. It is released in English via J-Novel Club. They're releasing it as Seirei Gensouki Spirit Chronicles. They released the first volume August 28th. I have not had a chance to read it yet. This one, a reincarnation isekai about two boys that kind of, their personalities kind of meld together into this new protagonist or whatever, and they each have sort of tragic tales of their past lives, and they end up having magic available to them, and they use that magic to rescue this noble's daughter or princess, or I don't know, I haven't read it yet. Anyway, they are rewarded by being put into a school for nobles, which does all sorts of great things, I'm sure, for their esteem and the way that they're treated by others, because it's a light novel, and that's always what happens. Come on. Anyway, like I said, this one is being released by J-Novel Club in English, so if you want to check it out, you can do so. At number 6, with 4,102 copies sold, volume 29 of Hidan no Aria, or as it has been released in English, Aria the Scarlet Ammo. This one, they did have an anime, and we did have a license start in English for this one, but they only released 2 volumes, and they haven't released anything since 2014. So I'm kind of guessing that it's locked in licensing hell, or purgatory, I guess. Purgatory might be a better word for it. And I don't really know what the hope is that we're going to get this licensed, because really 29 volumes is really damn long, and it seems like unless the series is ridiculously popular, I don't know if any English companies are going to tag in for 29 volumes. But I could be wrong. But again, it's probably all a problem with this whole digital manga publishers that have the license for it already. That's probably what's causing half of the problem. This one, of course, about a high school that trains armed detectives. A number of you kind of sounded off in the comments saying that it's sort of like it's got heavy action, but there is still some detective elements, and that there's some slight supernatural elements to it as well. I mean, it doesn't sound like a bad series overall, but again, I don't think we as English readers are going to get this entire series anytime soon, if ever. At number 5, with 4,732 copies sold, volume number 26 of Mahoka Koko no Retose, or as we have it in English, The Irregular at Magic High School. This one licensed by Yen On. They're releasing Volume 9 September 18th. There is a 26 episode anime which covered volumes 1 to 7 but excluded volumes 5, and you can stream that one on Crunchyroll. This one about the brother and sister who joined the Magic Academy, and of course magic in this world has been kind of refined into a form of science, technology. It still is in the realm that only certain people can use it, but nonetheless it is not quite as occultish and mysterious as it once was, and it's kind of about the adventures and everything else that these siblings get into and their friends get into. It's a bit of everything, like magic high school competitions, terrorist attacks, like it goes all over the place. I like the anime on this one. I couldn't really get into the light novels, but I think part of that was because I watched the anime. That was actually, this series is part of the reason that I swore off watching any anime based on light novels until I had read the books. At number 4, with 8,375 copies sold. Now it depends on how you want to go by this. It's either volume 28 or it's volume 9B of Kyokai Sensho no Horizon, or Horizon in the Middle of Nowhere. The series that's probably infamous just for the size of its volumes, let alone how complicated the story sounds. Kyokai Senjo no Horizon chronicles the story of a futuristic civilization returned to Earth after constant warfare hindered them from traveling beyond the post-apocalyptic Earth. At this stage, a small archipelago called the Divine States were the only hospitable land on Earth. In order to regain the spacefaring technology they had lost after many years of war, they decided to recreate history with a book called The Testament as a guide. It is the year 1648 in the Testament era. Tori Aoi, Chancellor and Student Council President of the only academy on the airborne city ship Musashi, faces the 10-year anniversary of the death of his childhood friend Horizon Aria Dust in an accident. As he prepares to celebrate the occasion by proposing to P-01s, an automaton who looks exactly like Horizon, he discovers that his suspicion about P-01's appearance actually has a basis in truth. P-01 is, in fact, Horizon Aria Dust reborn into a robotic body. In addition to this, Horizon's emotions had been stripped away and are now stored in 8 powerful weapons called the Mortal Sin Armaments, which are now in the possession of key people in various established countries in the Divine States. To retrieve the emotions of Horizon Aria Dust, Tori Aoi, along with his friends and allies, begins a crusade against different obstacles as key events in history are recreated in a futuristic manner. So yes, wow, this story just sounds uber complicated. Uber cool, but uber complicated. And as I said, apparently the volumes are like encyclopedias, which surprises me given how quickly they seem to get released. Like, there's a new volume of these like every couple of months. It would strike me that the author would take a lot longer to write all that, but I don't know. It did also have 2 seasons of anime, 13 episodes in each season, which aired back in 2011 and 2012. Although I did just recently see an article that said that they're re-releasing those on Blu-ray, I believe, in Japan, and there's going to be some special material included with them. So who knows? Maybe they're warming up to doing another season. Seems kind of unlikely, but then, well, we've recently gotten a bunch of series that have been either revived or restarted, and there's even more coming along, so who knows? Everything that is old is new again. Just seems to be a cycle, eh? At number 3, with 10,365 copies sold, Volume 19 of Hataraku Mao-sama, aka The Devil is a Part-Timer. This one is licensed for English release by Yen On. They just released Volume 11 back in August 21st of 2018. There is a 13-episode anime which aired April to June 2013. It covered the first 2 volumes, and you can stream that on Crunchyroll. I have read volumes 1 to 10 so far. I haven't managed to pick up 11 because I still have, you can all see, I still have quite a pile to get through until then. But this is definitely a series that I really enjoy, mainly because the characters are just so fantastic. If you're not familiar with it, is the story of Satan, the demon lord, who is trying to take over this nation, this world called Ente Isla, and he is basically stopped by a hero named Emilia, and he is defeated so soundly that he escapes into an interdimensional portal and ends up in modern-day Japan. Now, without powers and without money, he basically has to take on a human appearance and work part-time at a McDonald's-type restaurant. It's a lot of fun. The characters are fantastic. It's a really good series, actually. It's one that I always look forward to reading, and I don't think I've read a volume yet that I didn't fully enjoy. So definitely one that I recommend. In fact, we did a podcast on the Light Novel Podcast featuring The Devil as a Part-Timer, and well, we all sang its praises too. So definitely a good series to check out. At number 2, with 18,005 copies sold, Natsume no Yojincho, Utseseme ni Musubu. Or, this is Natsume's Book of Friends. This is the movie adaptation. So there's actually a film coming out of Natsume's Book of Friends. That one actually, we've got the manga. It's licensed and released by Viz in English. And there's been 74 episodes of an anime adaptation which are streaming on Crunchyroll. Now this is the adaptation of the film which is coming out. The story: Natsume Takashi has the ability to see spirits, which he has long kept secret. However, once he inherits a strange book that belonged to his deceased grandmother, Reiko, he discovers the reason why spirits surround him. Containing the names of these spirits, a binding contract was formed between the spirits and the owner of the book. Now, Natsume is determined to free the spirits and dissolve the contracts. With the help of a spirit cat, his days are filled trying to return the names to these spirits. So, that's what the series is generally about. Like I said, there's a film coming out, and this is a light novel adaptation of the film. We've seen a bunch of these lately, so not too shocking, and clearly a very popular series, not just based on, the sales of this, but, 74 anime episodes, plus now getting a feature film. So I haven't actually watched this, and it's not a light novel, so technically I could watch this anime. I should maybe check it out. What do you guys think? Is it good? Have you guys watched it? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Finally, at number 1, with 23,937 copies sold, Volume 23 of Excel World. This one, of course, licensed for English release by Yen On. They're releasing Volume 15 on September 18th. There's also been a 24-episode anime, plus a couple of OVAs. That was licensed for English release by Viz. You can still buy these. Now, it's kind of weird. It says it's licensed by Viz, but Warner Brothers is listed as the studio. So I don't know if Warner Brothers is kind of like the distributor for Viz. I don't know. If you have any insight on that, feel free to let me know. The anime adapted volumes 1 to 4 and then included a couple of stuff from the short story volume that happened later in the series. The feature film was also released recently. That was as far as I know, that was an original story that was penned by the series creator Reiki Kawahara. Of course, Reiki Kawahara known, of course, for Sword Art Online. Excel World is set in a sort of futuristic society, very much playing on like the technology that exists like in its infancy in Sword Art Online, which has led many people to believe that they're tied, but, well, that's a whole other video. Anyway, in this world, people wear devices, neural linkers, which allow them to do dives into virtual reality spaces. And main character Haruyuki is a overweight boy who is bullied, and he's approached by this incredibly beautiful and popular girl in the school who says she wants to install a program onto his neural linker, and it turns out to be a fighting game, but it's a very unique fighting game, a game that seems to tie into emotions and personality, and it really is just about an adventure and the stories that go on in this accelerated world that they inhabit and that they fight their way through. And the story is really driven by all of these characters trying to find out who created this program and just for what purpose. Because, well, to say it's a fighting game, there's a lot more to it. But if you really are that curious, you should check it out. Actually, I've read, I guess, what am I... I've read the first 12 volumes. I have volume 13 on my shelf. I still have to get caught up. It is a series that I actually really enjoy. I actually like this series better than Sword Art Online. It's fun. It's a fun series. It's got some really cool fight scenes in it. And I kind of like the gamer mentality that Haruyuki has. And he's kind of, you know, it is kind of that cheesy... take you back to kind of almost like the 90s and fighting type manga and stuff where it's like, we will express our feelings with our fists. I know, it sounds really hokey, but it's a lot better than that, I promise you. But it is a series that I really enjoy, and I'm going to try and get myself caught up with because I want to see how this series ends. And I mean, it's volume 23, it's still going. This is not the final volume as far as I know, so yeah, still got ways to go, apparently. In this video, I want to say a special thanks to Yuki Ali, Vixlab.com, Patrick Umbahi, and Ricardo Matos for their support on Patreon and for the support of all the rest of my patrons who their money helps me to buy the books that I review here on the channel and to pay for the hosting of the light novel podcast. I do post that here as well, but I try to host it on another hosting service so that it's available on things like iTunes, Spreaker. It's all out there. Just trying to spread the word of light novels as far and wide as possible. So again, thank you to all my patrons for helping to make that possible. So those are your top 10 best-selling light novels in Japan for September 3rd to the 9th of 2018. Any titles that you are interested in? What do you think of the one brand new title on the list this week? I know I didn't have a lot of information on it, but let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. So if you're brand new to the channel and you love light novels or you're just getting into them, you should consider subscribing. I do reviews, countdowns like this one, and the light novel podcast gets posted on this channel as well. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.